A lot of smoke around us signing KJ Martin to a balloon deal in order to trade him to avoid being hard capped. If we were to sign and trade him now, we would have to send out double what we bring back as opposed to trading him dollar for dollar in January. Money aside, would you rather make a trade in January and then there'd be more available options, or make a trade soon to have the team fully assembled by camp?
That's a tough one. I mean, I'm kind of okay either way, but I would say wait till January because I mean you could have your full roster at the beginning of the year, and you may not like it and have to still make a move. I think this kind of gives you a little more flexibility in the move that you can make. And it's a guy you're familiar with that maybe you can see how he fits. But it all depends on kind of who you can get to take the vet minimum. I think that's what it kind of comes down to for me. If you can address some of the holes you may have via vet minimum, definitely, do it and kind of have that bargaining chip for during the trade line, and maybe you can address a specific need at that time. So I would lean towards January right now.
I'm a pretty patient man. I can wait. I don't see any need to rush and do a trade at this point. I would rather, options aside, that's a good point too. There will be a lot more guys who will be able to be traded in January once their date comes up too. So that's one good point. The other good point is more or less this is our team, right? So it's good to see what kind of flaws we might have, what skills we're lacking, what we could use more of. I think by the time January rolls around, it's a good enough, it's like 2-ish months. That's long enough for a decent sample size in order to target the right kind of player who could complete our team, right? Because we make a deal now and we might have flaws anyway, like you said. So we might just be in a situation where like, now it's really tough to make a move, right? But if we have that chip to trade later on, then we can just kind of wait it out, wait and see, right? And see what we need and then attack it, right, head on with more options in January. So plus we had a guy in January. It's plenty of time before the playoffs. The way we've been doing it the last couple of years, we've done like roster overhauls during the season. So if you're talking about adding one guy to the rotation in January, that's not like life-changing or chemistry-taking. So I think we'll be okay in order to wait for more options and assess our team.
Obviously, the biggest name that's been attached to us for the last few weeks is Dorian Finney-Smith. That's the person everyone thinks we're going to try to get with this KJ Martin balloon contract. Do you guys think that would, for you guys, I know we talked about not really having the 4 for us, would Dorian Finney-Smith fit that 4 void for you guys?
I mean, I think he would. I mean, he's sort of a small guy but he's also a guy that has played that position on multiple teams, and he's a more defensive-minded guy. So I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine if you can, but I just think you need to get a guy that's played the position, comfortable playing the position, and he's okay playing the position versus getting a guy that he's playing there to start, not necessarily his best position or a position he wants to be in. He just wants to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think well, it's funny. Whenever we see what KJ Martin's contract is, we'll have a very good idea of who we can get in January. So that'll narrow it down a lot. So we'll know if DFS is the target pretty early, pretty soon after KJ signs his contract. But yeah, I think that scratches it. I mean, I think Martin's on the smaller end of that 4, 3-4, but then DFS is closer to like that 4. Those gives us another bigger body than Caleb, and then I think whoever we target now for vet min would be more of a, I think, classic 4 to back him up for bigger bodies at 4.
Do you think if we were to get DFS, whether it be now or January, Oubre would be the one that moves to the bench, and they would put Caleb Martin at 2? It would be Maxey, Martin, PG, DFS, and then Embiid. You think that's what it would be?
You're asking who's more likely to be benched if we got DFS?
Yeah,
it's a good question. I would say probably Oubre.
Yeah.
And not because of better or worse. I just think scoring punch, you can provide that with less creators around him. I think Caleb Martin gives a little more glue value to a lineup full of like scorers. What do you think, Eric?
I would probably pick Kelly to start. I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Martin. If the rumors of Martin taking less to come here are true, then he's a guy that's looking to increase his value. I think there's probably some promises made there to play and start.
The wink, wink.
Yeah,
it's the famous Maury.
You can say whatever you want in free agency. Yeah, it's some. You can say whatever you want in free agency, but I totally believe that it was some promises there.
You're saying for Martin, right?
Yes, for Martin. I believe he could have went back to Miami
for Kelly and for Martin.
Yeah, I can see Kelly playing as far as promising him a starting position and you're pursuing Paul George. I don't know how you can do that. You know what I'm saying? And you got all this cap room. I don't know how you can promise him a starting position.
Playing time, though. Yeah. A lot of playing time.
Yeah, playing time, yes. I'm saying playing time, definitely. Definitely playing time. And he will get a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
But starting position, I don't know how you can guarantee that.
Yeah.
But I think Martin, you can coming in later and behind, and you already kind of addressed that position. Yeah, I think it's probably some promises. So I would say at the beginning of the year, I'll be surprised for Martin to leave Miami as a starter and come to Philly and not start and take less money. It's some bad agency going on with that dynamic.
Yeah, I think they already had some bad agency with that going on. What about, aside from the time they got signed, the money, what about pure skill sets? Who do you think would be better in the starting unit with what we have, or who would be better in the bench, Kelly or Martin?
I think with the last year's team, Kelly would be better. I think this year's team, I would take Caleb.
Yeah, me too.
But because you gotta think you getting the guy that's in between Paul and Maxey. He's in between those guys.
Yes, he is.
And based on what you said, as far as the I know Caleb Martin, quote unquote, wasn't really looked at as a spot up 3-point shooter, but the percentages the last 2 years says differently.
Yeah, catch and shoot. Yeah,
a lot of these people are going by the analytics and go by the numbers. You have to go by his numbers, and going by his numbers, he's a better fit.
Yeah,
but I see him more as a 2-3, and I guess we're looking at him as a 3-4.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
and I guess when you look at it as a 4, those percentages look better as a 4.
Yeah.
So maybe Finney-Smith is the guy that comes off the bench and they start Kelly. So I would say Finney-Smith would be second behind Kelly instead of Martin. I don't think Martin ever comes off the bench. I think he starts. And I think it'd be one of those two that will come off before Martin ever comes off.
And those are open and wide open metrics for Caleb Martin. His covered metrics goes down a lot in the catch and shoot for threes. And I think between us and Miami, I think he's going to have a lot of open and wide open looks on this team. Especially
he would have more. He would have. Yeah, I mean, I think the teams are going to invite him to shoot more with the 3 guys that we have. You could probably expect that.
Yeah. A lot of opportunities for these guys. Like Kelly and Caleb Moore, they're going to have a. I also thought just on the Kelly Oubre, bringing him back this week when he had his press conference, he said he refound the love for basketball in Philadelphia. He took less to come back to Philadelphia. He had other teams that were offering him more money, but he still chose to stay in Philadelphia. And he looks to kind of sign a longer term deal here next year. He said so. I mean. I think it's pretty cool that he chose to come back here, denying more money to come back in Philly and regaining his passion and love for the game in Philadelphia. So I think that was pretty cool, especially when Philadelphia gets such a raw deal from a lot of the media, the pundits out there always talk about how Philadelphia's so hard on players and stuff. But the fact that a player chose to come back here and saying that he gained love for basketball again, pretty cool.
It's nice to play meaningful basketball on a winning team, right? I mean. It just goes to show you the difference between like
Charlotte.
Well, stats, that too, but stats, empty stats, right? People say the word empty stats, and maybe that's kind of what that was in Charlotte, empty stats, and didn't have a lot of meaning behind it. And he averages less, 6 points less, but it means every point means more. Every point means a victory toward building something rather than just trying to make a bucket, right?
Yeah.